Welcome to Midnight Horror YouTube channel. Here, we'll explore thrilling and suspenseful horror stories together. I'll be your guide through the most chilling and captivating experiences. From real-life horror stories to deadly games, Midnight Horror will bring you unforgettable moments of suspense every week. If you're a fan of thrills, haunted castles, and mysteries beyond the ordinary world, subscribe and join me on this terrifying journey. Don't forget to hit the notification bell so you won't miss any new videos from Midnight Horror. Get ready for nightmares at Midnight Horror. Let's embark on this terrifying journey together. Thank you for being here with me. Let's get to today's story right now.
I lived in a small town in Georgia, where everyone knew everyone else. It was the kind of place where you couldn't go to the grocery store without bumping into someone you knew, and gossip spread faster than wildfire. My name is Carrie Thompson, and I worked as a waitress at the local diner, a job I had held for the past 5 years. The diner was a classic 1950s-style establishment, complete with red leather booths, a long counter with swivel stools, and a jukebox in the corner that played old rock and roll hits. The regulars came in every day, and I knew most of their orders by heart. Mr. Jenkins always wanted his coffee black. Mrs. Wilson preferred her eggs scrambled with a side of bacon, and the teenage kids from the high school usually ordered burgers and milkshakes. My shifts were long but manageable, and I enjoyed the routine. I would wake up early in the morning, make myself a cup of coffee, and drive the 10 minutes to work. The mornings were usually quiet, giving me time to set up the diner and chat with my coworkers. By lunchtime, the place would be bustling with customers, and the hours would fly by in a flurry of orders, plates, and friendly banter. Outside of work, my life was equally unremarkable. I lived in a small, one-bedroom apartment on the second floor of a modest building. The rent was affordable, and the place was cozy, with a tiny kitchen, a comfortable living room, and a bedroom that overlooked the main street. I had decorated it with thrift store finds, giving it a quirky, eclectic feel. My bookshelf was crammed with novels of all genres, and I had a small collection of potted plants that I diligently cared for. My social life revolved around a close-knit group of friends. We had known each other since high school, and our bond had only strengthened over the years. Sarah was my best friend, and we did everything together. We would often spend our evenings at her place watching movies, talking about our dreams and fears, and laughing about old memories. Our other friends, Mike and Jenny, would join us for weekend barbecues or trips to the lake during the summer. Despite the small-town atmosphere, I had dreams of something more. I loved to write, and I spent my free time scribbling stories in a worn-out notebook. I dreamed of one day publishing a novel, of escaping the confines of the diner and the town. But those dreams always seemed just out of reach, overshadowed by the comfort of familiarity and the fear of the unknown. Life wasn't perfect, but it was mine. It was predictable, safe, and filled with the small joys of everyday moments. I never imagined that something as terrifying and surreal as a monstrous creature would shatter that tranquility and force me to confront fears I never knew I had. Looking back, those days seem like a distant dream, a fleeting glimpse of normalcy before everything changed. I'm still shaking as I write this, over a day later. I'm not really sure if what happened was real. You wouldn't believe it if my car didn't have a huge hole through the windshield or cuts on my arm from the shattered glass. Oh God. I can't get my thoughts straight. Okay, starting over, getting my thoughts in order before the police get here. You know what you saw, you know it sounds like a bad acid trip, but God, Carrie, you know what you saw. Now, I left the cafe around 11, locked up like any other night. Nothing special. All I remember about walking to my car was the humidity. It felt like stepping into a steam room just to get to my car. Southern Georgia summers have been harsh all my life, but this was nature being cruel. The air was heavy with moisture that clung to me the moment I stepped out, sweat immediately pouring with no place to go but stick. Worse yet, hungry mosquitoes, and I was their dinner tonight. I got to my car without incident. The stench of the swamp was worse than usual, like an overheated exhaust pipe tossed in mud. Started the car hoping the AC would cool me down, but it decided to die on me. Just one more thing to add to the pile, I guess. I started up, drove slow to turn onto I-1. Been working since morning, so tired, and now a 20-minute drive through stupid swamp to get home. God, why didn't I leave this town sooner? I want cooler weather and fewer mosquitoes. I'm itching already. I must have gone a few miles, maybe just 5 minutes on the road. The highway looked like a split through a long stretch of swamp and marshland. Full moon, I remember that because it was so bright. I think I saw a shadow of something before I actually saw it. At first it was faint, but then I noticed something on my car flashing under the moonlight. It was like, I don't know, watching me? I didn't really know what it was, but here crows or hawks aren't uncommon. Damn, sometimes they even have some big seabirds coming inland to the swamps. Maybe it's one of those. I was wrong. It's not. I don't know what the hell it is, but that thing sure isn't a seabird. Nightmares are what it is. It flew past me pretty fast, just whizzed by the car and kept going down the highway. I just shrugged. The moon slipped behind a cloud, leaving the road dark except for my headlights. It could be a normal muscle reaction on dark roads, but I turned on the high beams. A big mistake. It's standing on the road now, maybe 500 feet away from me. It's tall, and it looks like its head is about to break some branches on the road. I don't know if it's waiting for me or not, but I can see those sick green-blue orbs on its head. They're reflecting in my headlights, and the detail I can see when I get closer makes me feel sick. I don't know what to do. I definitely won't stop, I know that. But God, what the hell is this thing? It's huge and it looks naked. There are red, bloody fur sprouting from its skin all over. Legs and arms are too long for its body, and it looks like there's a third pair of hands right in the middle. I'm starting to feel something clear just behind it, blinking in the headlights. I couldn't even tell it was the wing. No, I saw its entire face, and it froze my blood. I can feel my breath stop. Ugly is the simplest way to say it. Those big, green-blue eyes just staring at me with a strange hexagonal look that flies have. I don't know. I'm too scared to remember what it's called. It just stared at me, and that's when I realized there was something else moving. The lower half of its face was just expanding, getting longer and longer until it was almost longer than the whole person. It's coming close, but I don't slow down. All I can feel is my heart pounding. The radio was far away, as if it was coming out of the swamp instead of my speaker. Although the air outside was warm, I felt cold. I think it jumped at me. I really don't remember, because I stepped on the gas hard. I heard the engine of my small sedan roar like never before, and suddenly it was on the hood of my car. He stood up, looked at me through the windshield, and pulled his head back. Then he rushed, pierced the glass, and sent shards flying. The cuts on my arm are a pain when I think about it now. I was lucky, I guess, that it missed its target and hit the seat next to me. No time to think. It had to be sharp because it pierced the seat and went back. He pulled his head back to try again, guessing he realized he missed, but when the needle came out of my windshield, I stepped on the brake hard. Thinking I broke my neck, but he did the job. That mosquito was thrown hard, falling off the road a few feet from where I stopped. I just stood dead at this point. I don't know what's going on, what that thing is, or even how to report it to my insurance. I just want to go home, and I'm still half sure I've been hallucinating all of this. Maybe it's just a branch that has poked through my windshield? No. If the hole is the only problem, everything will be easy. The damn thing is still on the ground, so I took advantage of my chance. Step on the gas and run away from there, maybe run 90 on the highway now. The moon has gone out, and I looked in the rearview mirror, but I can't see it anymore. That doesn't mean I'm going to slow down. I'm just kidding. I'm going home and locking the door. I'm too focused on the sky to make sure there's nothing up there that I didn't notice the car rushing out of the median behind me, flashing the lights. To the Georgia State Police, draw your back at the worst time. I have a few seconds to think about whether to continue and risk being caught or stop and comply with the regulations. If anything, the hole in my windshield and my seat might be a good reason not to get caught speeding. A police officer started moving closer to me with bright lights. I try to look up again, look one last time for my safety before considering slowing down. The moon is sliding behind the clouds again, casting darkness on us again. Clearly, the police officer was not patient as I felt the rear barrier of his vehicle crash into my small car. A miserable thing. All right, I have to slow down and stop right now. Whatever happens, it seems like one of the police officers should not have done anything to offend. I reduced speed quite quickly, and he did the same. We just managed to rush to the shoulder of the road before he got out of the car and came out. I closed the car window a little bit, my hand on the steering wheel. I'm going to give him my reason, show him the windshield. It's a cowardly thing to do. Unlike bullets never having gone through the car in rural areas. If I tell him about this mosquito, maybe he'll just take me because he suspects driving while intoxicated. The next few minutes are a blur. He asked me if I knew how fast I was going, which of course I didn't. Then when he asked for a license and registration, he suddenly stopped. As if he suddenly stopped in the middle and became pale. I think he might have seen the monster. Maybe he would draw a gun or something. But he just stood still. I tried to ask if he was okay, but he stood straight, his face through my roof and out of sight. I looked out the passenger side to see what he was looking at and got the answer. The creature was just a few feet from the other side of the car, most of it out of sight. I started screaming, not sure if it was clear or not, but a few seconds later I screamed, "Go back and try to do what the police do," and he suddenly lay down behind me, a big hole where his left eye used to be. Everything after that is a blur. There's nothing really meaningful. I've stepped on the gas and run for my life. I'm not sure if it's okay to have lunch alone, but I don't think it's been watching me. I'm keeping an eye on the road, but just seeing it moving back into the swamp after I'm driving. I didn't slow down all the time. I didn't even stop for the red light. As soon as I come back, I'll drive the car into the front door and get as close as I can. Maybe I fell asleep somewhere. I just remember sleeping on the sofa and waking up holding a mosquito electric trap. Maybe it couldn't do anything, but I didn't have anything else, right? Anyway, I think the police will be here soon. God knows there may have been some footage from the patrol car's dash cam that they checked. Assuming someone found him, but I don't know how they could not. I lived in a small town in Georgia where everyone knew everyone else. It was the kind of place where you couldn't go to the grocery store without bumping into someone you knew, and gossip spread faster than wildfire. Anyway, I'm also preparing to leave Georgia. I don't know what that thing is, but the less chance I have to see it again, the better. I'd rather face the meth addicts in Florida than this. I couldn't sleep that night, not really. Every sound, every creak of the house, every rustle of leaves outside sent my heart racing. My mind was running in circles, replaying the events over and over. I kept the lights on, clutching the mosquito swatter like it was a lifeline. When dawn finally broke, I felt a small measure of relief. The daylight made everything seem less terrifying, but the fear lingered on the edges of my consciousness. I knew I had to leave. There was no way I was staying here another night, not after what I had seen. I packed what little I could fit in my car, mostly essentials and some clothes. I didn't have much time or presence of mind to be thorough. My hands were shaking the entire time, and I kept glancing out the windows, half expecting to see that monstrous creature staring back at me. As I was packing, my phone buzzed. It was a message from my friend, Sarah. "Hey Carrie, heard something crazy happened last night? You okay?" I hadn't thought about telling anyone. Who would believe me? But Sarah was the kind of friend who wouldn't dismiss me outright. I quickly typed a response. Sarah, it's bad, really bad. I'm leaving town. Can I come over? She replied almost immediately. Of course. Get here as soon as you can. Be safe. With that, I finished packing and got into my car. The drive to Sarah's place was uneventful, but every shadow and every movement at the corner of my eye made me jump. I drove with one eye on the road and the other on the sky, half expecting that thing to swoop down on me again. When I arrived at Sarah's place, she was already at the door, looking concerned. As soon as I stepped out of the car, she hugged me tightly. "What happened, Carrie?" she asked, guiding me inside. I didn't know where to start. We sat down in her living room, and I took a deep breath before recounting the events of the previous night. Her eyes widened with each detail, and by the time I finished, she looked as pale as I felt. That's insane," she said, shaking her head. "But I believe you. What do we do now?" "I don't know," I admitted. "I just know I can't stay here. I need to leave Georgia." Sarah nodded. "Okay, you can stay here tonight, and we'll figure out a plan in the morning. But first, we need to call the police about what happened to that officer." I hadn't even thought of that. In my panic, I had completely forgotten about the dead officer. We called the local police station, and I gave them as much information as I could remember. They sounded skeptical, but promised to send someone to investigate. That night, I barely slept again, even with Sarah's reassurances. I kept thinking about that creature, its eyes, its grotesque form. I knew it was out there, and I knew it wasn't done. The following morning, we were woken by a loud knock at the door. Sarah answered it, and I heard her talking to someone. Moments later, she came back with a police officer. "Ms. Thompson?" the officer asked, looking at me. "Yes," I said, my voice trembling.
I would like to extend my sincere thanks to all of you for taking the time to watch our video on Midnight Horror. We truly appreciate your interest and support. We're eager to hear your feedback on the video. Your thoughts are a great motivation for us to improve and deliver even better content. If you found the video enjoyable and worth sharing, please consider liking and subscribing to stay updated with our latest releases. Your support will help us continue creating content that you love. Once again, thank you all so much for supporting Midnight Horror. Wishing you all a wonderful day.